is a frequency-determining component in a unijunction oscillator. A. Total resistance. B. Total capacitance. C. Intrinsic standoff ratio. D. All of the above. The correct answer is all of the above. In the Colpitts oscillator, the elements X1 and X2 are and X3 is an A. Inductors capacitor. B. Capacitors inductor. C. Capacitors resistor. D. Inductors resistor. The correct answer is capacitors inductor. In a Hartley oscillator, the elements X1 and X2 are and X3 is an A. Inductors capacitor. B. Capacitors inductor. C. Capacitors resistor. D. Inductors resistor. The correct answer is inductors capacitor. A feedback amplifier has a upper 3 dB frequency and a lower 3 dB frequency compared to an amplifier without feedback. A. Smaller higher. B. Higher smaller. C. Smaller smaller. D. Higher higher. The correct answer is higher smaller. What is the gain at the origin of the Nyquist plot? A. 0. B. A negative value. C. A positive value. D. Undefined. The correct answer is 0. Positive feedback results in A. Decreased voltage gain. B. Increased voltage gain. C. Oscillation in the circuit. D. None of the above. The correct answer is oscillation in the circuit. In the Wien bridge oscillator with R1, R2, R and C1, C2, C, a ratio of R3 to R4 will provide sufficient loop gain for the circuit to oscillate. A. 0. B. 0.5. C. 1. D. 2. The correct answer is 2. In the phase shift oscillator, the operating frequency is determined by A. Resistance only. B. Capacitance only. C. LC combinations. D. RC combinations. The correct answer is RC combinations. Negative feedback results in A. Decreased voltage gain. B. Increased voltage gain. C. Oscillation in the circuit. D. None of the above. The correct answer is decreased voltage gain. Series feedback connections tend to the input resistance. Shunt feedback connections tend to the input resistance. A. Decrease increase. B. Increase decrease. C. Increase increase. D. Decrease decrease. The correct answer is increase decrease. In practice, A is made and the system is started oscillating by amplifying noise voltage which is always present. A greater than 1. B smaller than 1. C equal to 1. D none of the above. The correct answer is greater than 1. Voltage feedback connections tend to the output impedance. Current feedback connections tend to the output impedance. A decrease increase. B increase decrease. C increase increase. D decrease decrease. The correct answer is decrease increase. In the phase shift oscillator, the gain of the amplifier stage must be A 0. B less than 29. C greater than 29. D. The correct answer is greater than 29. The series-resonant impedance of a crystal oscillator is A very low, B low, C medium, D very high. The correct answer is very low. An amplifier with negative feedback has bandwidth than as the amplifier without feedback. A the same, B less, C more, D none of the above. The correct answer is more. The parallel-resonant impedance of a crystal oscillator is A very low, B low, C medium, D very high. The correct answer is very high. In a Nyquist plot, as the frequency increases, the phase shift between input and output signals. A remains the same. B decreases. C increases. D none of the above. The correct answer is increases. At the series resonant frequency, the amount of positive feedback is A very large, B large, C small, D very small. The correct answer is very large. Since the crystal losses represented by R are small, the equivalent crystal Q quality factor is A very low, B low, C medium, D high. The correct answer is high. In the Colpitts oscillator, the frequency is determined by A resistance only, B inductance only, C capacitance only, D both inductance and a capacitance. The correct answer is both inductance and a capacitance. Typically, a unijunction transistor has a standoff ratio from 2. A 0.00.2, B 0.20.4, C 0.40.6, D 0.60.8. The correct answer is 0.40.6. Crystal oscillators are used whenever an level of stability is required. A lower, B average, C greater, D none of the above. The correct answer is greater.